Hey fam, welcome back to the ride. Dr. Eric K. Coleman Show. Please, ma'am, please, sir, subscribe to the channel so that you can stay abreast to all content pertaining to this platform. As we continue in the month of October, the theme here we are dealing with fear of relationships. We're going to jump into a clip with a young lady by the name of Miss Stephanie Lynn, who is a relationship coach. And she is going to be talking from the subject and the idea of scared to be in a relationship, afraid of getting hurt again. So let's go ahead and jump into the clip and we will provide commentary along the way.
Thank you for joining me for another video. If you're new to my channel, my name is Stephanie. I'm a life and relationship coach. This week we're going to get into the fear of intimacy, the fear of vulnerability. The reason why this topic is really important is because if you're coming out of any horrific bad relationship experience, so we're talking emotional abuse, narcissistic abuse, that relationship that has completely changed you and shook you at your core, or even if we're just talking about our past, our childhood, the way we are, like old wounds that are still carrying, still stuck inside of us, right? And they're playing out after relationship after relationship, and you tend to keep repeating the same mistakes over and over again. So the big part of those mistakes is obviously number one, not knowing what the wound is, but then number two, once you kind of understand, like, yep, I got some intimacy issues, yep, I don't like being vulnerable, yes, I have trust issues, I'm scared, I have abandonment stuff going on. Once you start kind of recognizing all of that, then it's a matter of like, well, what do I do about it? So let's get into that. Okay, so
Yeah, that's good. That's what we always talk about here when we stress about the idea of unpacking your baggage, realizing and understanding why is it that I show up the way that I show up in relationships. Why can't I keep a good relationship? Why are my relationships not healthy? Just like we said last week, we talked about when we were reviewing the clip, the TED Talk from Dr. Trillian Small, doing that self-reflective look that I don't have many successful relationships, and at the root of it all, it cannot be everybody else all the time who is the issue and who is the problem. If you just cannot seem to keep a positive relationship in your life, no matter if it's family members, work-related, platonic, friendships, relationships, romantic, there's a common denominator here, and it is not everybody else. We got to take this self-reflective look to think about what is it that I am not doing? Who am I attracting? Who am I attracted to? And we got to shift the paradigm. Again, the whole platform here, paradigm, thinking differently about relationships. We have got to shift this paradigm and stop doing the same things over and over again and expecting a different result.
So let's dive into the fear of intimacy. So intimacy really, and that fear of being vulnerable with people really stems from abandonment. Now you can have two types of abandonment. You can have physical abandonment or emotional abandonment. Physical abandonment is obviously very obvious. Someone peace out, someone left, like someone was like, see you later, I'm not in your life whatsoever. So if you're talking about being in a relationship, someone that just out of the blue asks for a divorce, like, yeah, you may have been having some issues in your relationship, but it wasn't anything where you deemed worthy of, okay, I kind of saw this coming. It just completely came out of nowhere. You were just in a relationship going through some stuff and you were trying to figure it out. And then all of a sudden one day, someone just like ups and leaves. Abandonment. Yeah. Dad just abandoned the family when you were 5 years old. Abandonment. Mom was an alcoholic and gave you up for adoption. Abandonment. So abandonment is a physical thing. And it's something that is very predominant in a lot of people's lives, and they don't really talk about it because I think we just have been programmed with this tough love mentality of you just got to push through. There's nothing you can do about it. Yep. But then we don't really learn how to heal that stuff because it's a trauma and it's something that you have to heal. So that's physical abandonment. Emotional abandonment is something that is a little more gray and not so black and white.
I'm going to stop there for a minute, fam. She said something that was really important. We do not deal with our traumas. We don't deal with them. and we get into other relationships and we expect other people to understand, but we have not communicated it. We have not done the work on ourselves to even understand how we're traumatized. But then we want the other person to understand and just accept us for who we are. No, that is so it's selfish and it's unrealistic. Talk to somebody. I had in the season 1, I had a really good friend, Avery Graham. He was on the show, and he said something that just still sticks out with me until this day. He said, we need to go lay on somebody's couch, meaning we need to talk to somebody. We need to get in the face of somebody who is credentialed and qualified to be able to help us unpack this stuff. Stop just going to your buddies and your friends and your friend girls and your homeboys who got issues of their own and don't know which way is up and trying to guide you and direct you. Talk to somebody. Work this stuff out. But then we jumping from relationship to relationship and complaining that we're not being fulfilled. We're not getting what we want out of it. But we're constantly thinking about ourselves. We're being selfish. And then we wonder why we do not have productive relationships. Talk to somebody. Stop being prideful. There's nothing wrong with talking to somebody.
So emotional abandonment is a little tricky. So you could have had mom and dad home every single night. They were married for 40 years, or you could be in a relationship with someone and they're not going anywhere. They're not physically leaving you, but they could be emotionally abandoning you. Emotional abandonment is more of things like you're never heard or really understood. You know, someone doesn't really sit in a space for you and try to understand where you're coming from. You're just dismissed a lot of the time. So you're never going to get validation from this person.
Yeah.
You were often not accepted by this person. You were rejected. So there was always something wrong with you. There were always all the issues in the relationship or issues even in your childhood were just about you. There's something wrong with you. You're different, or you're tough, or you're not easy to talk to. It was just the finger was always pointed at you, and you weren't really accepted for who you are.
Yeah.
Unconditionally loved, flaws and all.
Yeah.
You were definitely not supported, and you were definitely not respected. Again, this looks different in between the relationship with you and your parents versus you and your intimate partner, or even like friendships and things like that. But those two relationships, while they're different, they are similar in the sense that we're going to give both people respect. So the parent needs to give the child respect, just like the child should give the parent respect. It's a two-way street, and you have to be able to give your child that level of respect, meaning, I hear you. It's your turn to talk. I'm not going to interrupt you. I'm not going to be verbally abusive to you.
Yeah.
I'm not going to diminish your opinions and your thoughts and your feelings. I'm going to really respect wholeheartedly who you are and what you bring to the table. I'm not going to try to change you and conform you into who I think you should be. I'm going to just respect the human being that you are and your thoughts and your opinions. When you are in a relationship and you don't feel supported, you know, the support and respect kind of go hand in hand. So if someone's not going to respect who you are, then they're definitely not going to then support you in any way, shape, or form. Absolutely. So when you didn't feel that sense of connection with someone where you weren't being understood, you weren't being validated, you weren't being respected, no one really cared about your thoughts and feelings. And again, you don't have to have lived in an environment in childhood that was completely neglectful. Every now and then, just mom saying something or dismissing you, or dad really not being able to fully support you, over time, those things that were consistent, they start to chip away at you, and you begin to start having a little bit of a fear, because think about it, especially in childhood, these were the two people that were supposed to be able to give you all of these things, because you weren't a logical child.
And there we go. There's that trigger word here, childhood. What happened in our childhood that we are now dealing with and that we're paying for it within our adulthood lives?
to understand, well, how can mom give this to me when she's got her own issues? And okay, dad's literally never going to validate me because he is egotistical or narcissistic. Like, so you weren't a child that could rationally understand what was going on, so you just took everything on as if it was about you, as if you were flawed. And then because of that programming, your mind starts creating a tape that isn't able to distinguish between real fear and make-believe fear. So, for example, the tape's going to start to play of, don't get close to people because when you show people who you are, they reject you. And it's not people, it was this one person, but your brain doesn't know the difference between.
And then we create this taxonomy, or we categorize everybody now. And I hear it all the time when, I'm sorry to say it, when ladies say that all men are dogs, or when men say all women are gold diggers. You know, we cannot put everybody in a box, because you can say within your mind, within your perceived reality, that all women are gold diggers, because that's all you choose to deal with. Or women will say that all men are dogs, but no. Only in your sphere, or in your scope, or in your field, or in your, geographical area of men that you deal with, the men that you are drawn to dogs because that's what you like. But you don't like what comes with the man being a dog, or man, you don't like what comes with the woman being a gold digger. You love her body. You love how she looks and carries herself in that regard because you think she a baddie, but you don't like what she wants from you. You like how she makes you look on her arm and the benefit that she can give you in the midnight hour, but you don't like the fact that she want to hit your pockets. So that's the thing, people. We got to be real with ourselves. We like and are drawn to certain things, but we're not willing to accept all that comes along with it. And then we want to categorize everybody into one bucket just because you are dealing with a certain sect of people that continue to hurt you and mistreat you, but you are the one who are selecting these people.
Between, everyone in the whole world to just dad or just mom or just your ex-wife or ex-husband. One of the biggest, all of these are really big ones in terms of childhood trauma and childhood wounds that you carry around with you. But another huge one that I don't think most people often talk about is the lack of affection and the ability to show real love. I know a lot of families where they don't hug, they don't kiss, they feel uncomfortable when someone's upset or crying, they don't know what to do, and they kind of freeze up. So that inability to connect physically, to be able to show that level of admiration and love for another person, as much as someone doesn't mean to do it, it is neglect. It is abandonment.
This whole notion of afraid of getting hurt again or afraid of being in relationships, we are not giving ourselves wholeheartedly to the experience. We're not giving ourselves wholeheartedly to the other person because we continually have these walls up that's prohibiting us from entering in. And it's just not fair, definitely not fair to the other person, and you're not being fair to yourself.
Because again, you're sitting waiting to be loved, shown affection, shown empathy, and someone's incapable of doing it. And on some levels, those are abandonment, especially when you're talking about childhood traumas. So remember, the fear of intimacy, the fear of vulnerability, these abandonment issues that you have, these are just defense mechanisms that you then kind of took with you along your adult life, the course of your life, because of the program, because of the fear, because of the consistent abandonment that you received, where you were put up for adoption, you had physical abandonment there. Then you were adopted by a woman and she was never able to fully accept you and show you unconditional love, okay? You never had a voice when it came to dad. He never cared about your thoughts and feelings. Your ex-husband never fully valued you or supported you. So over the course of your entire adult life, you've been in these relationships where you have been shown abandonment over and over again. The difference between who you are now and where you were as a child is a few things. Your adult self now that has these wounds that you're taking on with you,
and she's getting into something very critical here. I've experienced a lot of people who want to rest in things that happened to them as a child, which rightfully so, it happened to you. But you as an adult have the ability to, if you can't do it on your own, to be able to think through these things and be able to rationalize and to come to conclusions about these things. Again, laying on somebody's couch. And what we talked about last episode, last week, when Dr. Smalls was saying that love is rooted in this whole idea of knowledge and intelligence, that we are able to then rationalize things from a logical perspective. So when we become adults, we can start to unpack and think about the triggers and the trauma that we experienced and we developed as a child. We can now come to these situations and think back about these experiences with newfound knowledge and with newfound intelligence that we have developed along the way, intrinsically with our own research, or again by sitting down with somebody who's qualified and apt to be able to guide us through these things. So we just cannot and no longer rest in the idea that this is what happened to me as a child, and I'm going to rest in that, and I'm not going to do the work to try to heal so that I won't repeat this cycle. That's just not so. It's not mature. It's not responsible. It's not taking accountability. So we got to do these things. We got to do the work on ourselves.
Or that you have been taking along with you. You don't realize that you're actually living in an adult place. You're living out a childhood wound.
Absolutely. We say that all the time.
The way to really reprogram this is to be able to notice or recognize when and who you have this fear with. So if you're scared to go into a new relationship, when you're scared to be able to just tell someone what you think and how you feel, set boundaries because you don't think that someone's going to respect them, or you're so scared to get into another relationship again because you have a fear that someone's just going to leave you or become something different, especially when you're dealing with traumas from narcissistic relationships. When someone takes the mask off, that's a huge trauma because you believed that this person was this way, and when that mask comes off and they turn out to be the worst person you've ever actually met in your entire life, that 100% is a trauma and it shakes you at your core. But unless you are very mindful and aware, and that's probably one of the biggest things in terms of healing and reprogramming, is being aware that what you're playing out in your current life is based on a past experience. Now, I know that may not sound like groundbreaking stuff that you probably want to hear, but awareness is a huge factor when trying to heal and reprogram. Because if you're not aware, then whatever you went through, whatever trauma, is going to continue to live out time and time again. So it's not that awareness, that moment where you get to actually make a decision on, do I want to keep going down this road, or do I want to change directions and go down a different road and try something different?
Absolutely. I just said it earlier. Insanity. Doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result.
Be vulnerable. Speak to someone about my thoughts and feelings. The only way you can really be comfortable with this process and being able to be aware to then do something different is when you have worked on yourself.
Hey!
Working on yourself is so incredibly huge because
work on yourself, team.
You were never
Come on, fam. Work on yourself. Work on yourself. Do the work. Self-reflective work. Look in the mirror. Take the self-examination. Do the work.
Do not abandon yourself. You were never taught how to validate yourself. You were never taught how to value yourself, support yourself, unconditionally love yourself, allow yourself to think and feel whatever it is that you need to feel, be able to sit in a space for yourself. So until you are able to really parent yourself, and that's why I'm always talking about self-parenting on this channel, until you're able to, or love yourself, or whatever you want to call it, but until you're able to be the parent to yourself, the friend to yourself, and give yourself all of the things that you expect others to give to you. Because here's the reality of life. Not everyone's going to be able to give it to you. That's just the truth.
That is facts. That is the truth. Everyone else is not going to be able to give you what it is that you're looking for and what you quote unquote need. So that's why it's so critical, fam, to do the work. Do the work. As we continue this series in the month of October, fear of relationship, we got to be okay with the idea that not everyone is going to fix me. No one else is going to be able to make me happy. No one else is going to be able to complete me or make me whole, because I'm looking for something that I didn't get in that last relationship, or I didn't get when I was a kid. These people aren't apt to get it, and especially if you have not reconciled this stuff within yourself. How can you explain this to somebody else to be able to give you what it is that you're looking for? And you're placing this weightiness on someone else to fill a void within you that you are not even be able to articulate and communicate yourself. You don't even know what's missing. So how in the world can somebody else give it to you, and you're looking for something that you don't know what you need? So do the work, fam. When we continue to do the work on ourselves, we can then better impact our families. We can better show up and show out in community, in society, in the world, and take this thing globally. So until next time, fam, continue to think differently about relationships. Peace.